Today's video is a cozy chat just for pre-licensed therapists. So if you are not pre-licensed, you can swipe on by this video or go to the next one. But this is for my pre-licensed friends because I'm sitting here in my office today thinking about how hard it was to be a pre-licensed therapist and 3 things that I wish somebody had held my hand and told me before I became a licensed therapist. And I'm going to tell you those 3 things today. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Kelly Stevens. I teach therapists how to build 6-figure private practices. But long before I ever started doing this, long before I launched my own private practice, I was pre-licensed and struggling. And the very first thing I wish someone had told me was, your finances are going to get better. I know it doesn't seem like it right now. When I graduated from my master's program, I had about $48,000 in debt, which I realize is not as much as a lot of people have, but that's how much I had. I was living in LA. My rent was about $2,300 a month at the time. This was in 2013. I had student loan payments and I needed to pay my health insurance and a lot of other bills. And I felt like I was drowning. I was getting paid $16 per client, not even per hour, per client. So that included the notes and everything else I had to do. And I felt like I had no idea how I was going to make it work financially. During that period of time, I realized 2 things. Number 1, I needed a side hustle. All right. I know it wasn't fun. It wasn't necessarily something I had time or that I wanted to do. But in that moment, I had to say to myself, what is the next right intended action? And for me, that involved getting a side job. So while I was getting my licensing hours, I actually took photos of weddings, which was an easy way for me to make some part-time money. And I did tutoring. I tutored elementary school kids in math, which paid me about $45 an hour at that time. I think it would pay more now. And that was how I made it work financially. I also realized during that pre-licensed time when I was getting paid $16 an hour that I really needed to get my hours done as quickly as possible. So one thing about being pre-licensed is you are going to be making so much less money than you will be later on. And I realized the quicker that I got licensed, the quicker I could get out of debt and I could start my career and moving things forward. So the way that I did that, so I made sure I was working at an internship site. That's what we called it then. Now it'd be an associateship site here in California that would give me a lot of hours. And I was able to finish my hours, which here in California was 3,000 hours, in about 1.5 years, which is really fast. But the benefit of doing that, even though I wasn't getting paid very much at the time and I had a side hustle and I was working 6 days a week, was it got me to that next step. And if I could tell myself one thing for back then, it would be get your hours done as quickly as possible and get out of the time where you're just not making much. I know that there are a lot of people out there that might tell you, take your time with your hours, enjoy the process. But the reality is, if you are not making enough money to live, or you're going into debt, or you just can't make it work, the quickest way out of that situation is to get your hours done as quickly as possible. Thing number 2 that I wish someone had told me when I was pre-licensed is find a good supervisor. A good supervisor will make your life, your career, your clinical skills better. A bad supervisor will do the exact opposite. And trust me, I have had multiple. Now, I know that a lot of you might be in jobs or associateships or traineeships or internships, whatever you call it in the state that you're in, where you don't have a good supervisor. And unfortunately, sometimes that is the case. I'm not telling you necessarily to quit your job if that's what's going on. But if you are in a site where you don't have a good supervisor, I would challenge you to find a really good mentor. Find people in your community that you can reach out to about difficult cases, about your clinical growth, about countertransference, because therapists supporting other therapists is one of the best ways that you can grow in this field, right? Once you're out of school, you are kind of on your own in many ways besides your supervisor. But that time when you're getting supervision is meant for you to continue learning. Many supervisors will be a good clinical fit for you, but a lot of supervisors might not be a good fit for you if you eventually want to be in private practice. So one thing to look for in a supervisor is if you do eventually want to be in private practice, you might want to consider actually finding a supervisor who has some private practice experience, even if they're at an agency, but maybe they have a private practice on the side. And you want to be honest with them, especially if they have a private practice, and say, hey, I'm interested in being in private practice one day. Can I ask you any of those questions? questions. And if somebody immediately says, you should never be in private practice is awful, and that's what you want, then maybe that's not the best supervisor for you. If it's not who you want, that's okay too. Number 3, it is so important to start building your network right now. It can be really tempting to just say, you know what, I'm not going to start networking until I'm licensed. I don't even have a practice yet. It's not worth it. No, start building your professional network right now. The more therapists that you know, the more doors that will open for you, the more of an ability you'll have later on to get referrals, to join professional consultation groups, to do trainings. Through my professional network that I started cultivating when I was pre-licensed, I was able to get an adjunct professor job at Pepperdine. I was able to be invited to different speaking events. I was invited to a consultation group that was mostly made up of only licensed people. All of that came through networking, various jobs. I was doing evaluations for a university. All these different things came through my professional network, and you can start building that right now. You can literally start a spreadsheet of all the other therapists that you have ever met and just build on it from there. But the key is starting to build that muscle of promoting yourself, marketing yourself, networking while you were either still in school or early in your career. There used to be kind of this old guard. There used to be the kind of this mentality for therapists where we felt like, you know what, you have to earn your chops, or I did things this way, so everybody should do it that way. I want you to try to seek out people in your community that are there to support you. I know that being pre-licensed is tough. I know that you might feel like you don't have enough money, like you don't have enough time, like you don't have enough clinical experience, like you don't know what your niche is. I get it. 100%. And I am really committed to providing resources for pre-licensed therapists that feel really good to you. I'm going to link a ton of resources below, but just know pre-licensure isn't forever and you're going to get through this. I would love it if you like and subscribe to my channel. I post all kinds of resources for building a private practice. Whether you're pre-licensed or licensed, welcome, and I'll see you next time.